So welcome to the second virtual public meeting for Riverdale Bluffs Open Space Master Planning Process. And as we said, in the spirit of inclusion, we're proud to have this virtual open house interpreted in both English and Spanish. And in a moment, we'll activate the translation function. I think that's already been activated. Look for the icon at the bottom of your screen. It looks like a little globe, and then select your language of choice. And then, as Andrea said, please stick with that language throughout the presentation. Go ahead and advance to the next slide. If you read that, if there's any issues, please put the information in the chat, and we'll make sure we get you set up with the correct language. So I am super excited to be here tonight because the Riverdale Bluffs is something that I'm very passionate about. I'm a hiker. I ride a mountain bike. I grew up riding horses with my dad, cutting cattle. So I can seriously tell you that this type of thing is something I use personally in my personal life, and something that I think we need more access. And we've had this parcel for quite some time, and it's very exciting to be here today to kick off how we're going to be using this parcel. We took input from our first public meeting, and I think it's a very exciting time. And this is a very exciting intersection and point in time for Splendid Valley as well, and the regional park and regional connections throughout Adams County and beyond as well. You want to advance to the next slide? So, sponsors, Adams County Parks, Open Space, and Cultural Arts. And we've got a really talented team. I really want to take a moment to talk about who's here, because we've taken a lot of effort to put a really dynamite team together. Andrea's already talked to you. She's our awesome interpreter from the Community Language Co-op. We also have our director, Brian Fanning, our deputy director, Mark Caducci, Mary Willis, business service manager, Aaron Clark, who's a natural resource specialist, Zillian Campo, who's our cultural relations liaison, Trevor Graff, who's our park superintendent, Jeffrey Havel, who's our park supervisor, Travis Bernstein, who's our new park ranger supervisor, which I'm excited to announce. Amber with our community relations, she's the communications manager. Not to mention our dream team of consultants. We got Stream Landscape Architecture, it's the lead consultant. ERO Resources, they're doing the ecology and trail planning. Olson Group, they're doing the civil engineering. Contour Logic is helping with trail design. And of course, Community Language Cooperative with the Spanish interpretation. So we're super proud of this team and the plan that they've put together based on the input from the first public meeting. So the agenda tonight, we're going to go ahead and review the planning process, discuss the results from the survey, present our master plan concept, and provide a link for public comments. So our core statement for the Riverdale Bluffs is, in the interest of the citizens of Adams County, we have been diligently reaching out to all stakeholders and adjacent property owners to seek their input for the Bluffs master planning process. Adams County will make the final decision on access, layout, and programming, consistency with specific site objectives, and providing public access to the parcel, while taking public input into consideration on all these decisions is our goal. Ultimately, ADCO purchased this property's open space with the intent to provide public access in perpetuity. And I think that's an important statement. And we've really taken our time to reach out and do a lot of networking, as you'll see with some of the connectivity issues with the adjacent cities, with E470, and a lot of other partners. And I should mention, we actually have, as our panelists as well, we do have representatives from E470, Neil Thompson and Chuck Weiss. So where we're at in the planning process, as I talked about, we had we actually kicked off the plan in November of 2019, and with COVID, we really wanted to wait to reach out and do an authentic on-site public process. However, that was impossible with COVID. So what we did is we flew a drone, did a video, did our best to invite somebody to a place that was not open to the public yet, and I think we did a really good job. Proud of the end product. Then we had our first public meeting in September of 2020, and we're at our second public meeting. And in that time period, we've really been doing a lot of networking, a lot of collaborative work, and a lot of thought into how this is going to connect into our regional transportation network. So survey recap. Looking at the survey results, walking, hiking, running, and biking trails were very well received. Small picnic areas were preferred over large picnic areas. There was a significant desire for educational interpretation, as many people mentioned in the comment section. Many people would like to ensure that the natural prairie lands and wildlife would be protected. And so when we were going through the property, we really took this into consideration. We hiked every foot of that property with our masks on and socially distanced. But this is kind of what we came up with. And here's some more of the survey results. You can see mountain biking was well received, youth, children, walking was huge, running was big, small picnic areas as opposed to big ones, as you can see. Interpretation, education, and arts were also important. Next slide.
And Kurt, this is Paul. I'm just going to say, for those of you looking at the slides, green was favorable, red was not desired, and yellow was neutral. So you can sort of see how some of those turned out.
Thanks for the clarification. Appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our consultant, Paul Thomas, who's been the lead on this. And I want to put a shout out for Kathleen as well. She's really done an awesome job on putting this presentation together, and I'm excited. So Paul, take it away.
Thanks a lot, Kurt. And we are excited to be here as well. So thanks for the intro. So we are basically taking the mandate, the info that we received from the public meeting, and have put it to pen to paper to start to develop those ideas and those objectives that the public wanted. Before I get into the plan, I'd like to just kind of recap a little bit of the context for people who maybe weren't at the first meeting, and get you up to speed. And located in the North Metro area, you can see the light green area here is our site. It's Riverdale Bluffs, basically at the intersection of 136th Avenue and Riverdale Drive, which is more or less going north-south. So you can see the Platte River is very nearby. E470, which is kind of an important thing that I'll get to a little later, is right along the north edge of our site. So there is and we'll zoom in a little bit more and just look at kind of the wealth of open space resources that Adams County has put together, assembled, accumulated in this general area, which creates some really great opportunities. You start and just in general, these circles, this is a 2-mile radius circle, 5-mile radius. You can see Brighton is less than 3 miles away. Thornton is just to the west. Even Commerce City is maybe 3 to 4 miles away at its closest. North Glen is close to this site. So this will be a site, this will be a resource for a huge portion of Adams County. And we're really looking at maximizing access and availability and just opportunities for recreation, often based on how many people will be able to reach this site. I'm going to take a quick site tour. Some of you from the first meeting probably saw this, but I'm going to do it again real quick. We're sitting at the top of one of the bluffs. So we're looking to the south. This is 136th, and that's Riverdale Road. Right there, you can see the Riverdale Dunes Golf Course in the distance in the city of Denver. But this is the view that you get up on one of the bluffs. And I just want to mention this dune across 136th is a property that Adams County bought actually fairly recently, called the Baumgartner property, which has which was a private residence and is now being planned to become a nature center for the county. There's a notable house by a notable architect, Charles Hartling, at the top. So it's quite an exciting acquisition. We are not planning the nature center at this point. We are just right now considering how this new property will figure into some of the trail connectivity, but I just wanted to point that out. It's a great opportunity coming for the residents of this area. As we're rotating a little bit now. That's the view downtown again from the bluffs. You can see now that's the we're looking at the Baumgartner property, and we're starting to rotate around to the west. So you can see the mountains, kind of a hazy day there. All this area in the foreground is the bluffs, very dry prairie landscape, short grass prairie. Now we're looking to the north from the top of the bluff, and you can see that the site is surrounded on several sides by residential housing. Now if you look at these arrows here, you can see kind of which way the picture is pointing. This is looking up kind of this central area on the site, and you can see residential housing on the east, and also there's a subdivision on the west that border the property. One more look down. So we're looking down through kind of a central drainage. Again, that's a view that's kind of southwest. And we're actually looking back. Some of those first pictures on the top of the dune were up here. And now we've kind of come down into this sort of central valley drainage area that is quite nice. A lot of vegetation kind of in this drainage compared to some of the upper slopes. This is the far northern boundary. You can see where the arrows are here, where we're looking at E470, one of the old toll plazas. And then Todd Creek development is on the other side of E470. And then I think this is the last view in this area. This is kind of the northern parcel. We're looking due west. You can see those arrows. And this little high point that we see in the distance is still within the bluffs. That's getting close to the western boundary. But we've got another nice high point. And from that high point, you get great mountain views. So, possible opportunities for taking advantage of those as part of the plan as well. A couple more pictures. There is a portion of the site as you look at this little map here, a portion of the open space that is on the south side of 136th. There's 136. So this property here right in front of us is also part of that Riverdale Dunes open space purchase. This is that Baumgartner property in the distance. So that will be part of this whole network, open space network as well. And then one more view looking a little bit more to the southeast. You can see a little drainage way, and that's kind of off towards the metro area. So thank you for joining me on that tour. Just thought a refresher would sort of get your blood flowing about how cool this site is and kind of the opportunities that await. I want to zoom back out real quickly here to talk about some of the regional importance of the site. So just to reorient you again, the darker green here is the Riverdale site. That little corner there, just along Riverdale on the south side of 136 is the Baumgartner property. So if you look if we just go to the east, you see the site just across Riverdale Road is owned by Adams County. It's currently an agricultural holding that's leased to a farmer. So it's not a recreational site. On the other side of that property is the Riverdale Dunes golf course. And then south of that is the Riverdale Regional Park. Finally, we talked about the South Platte River and Greenway. The dark line here is the Greenway, which connects now all the way to Brighton, continuous trail, and all the way to Chatfield if you go the other way. But another important open space acquisition that the county is also in the process of developing plans for is this parcel over here on the east side of the South Platte, called Willow Bay Open Space, which is, you can go see underneath the green, there's actually a large, very large lake and pond that will provide kind of water-based recreation. I did want to mention, so Kurt talked about the collaboration that we've been doing with regional neighbors, stakeholders, agencies. One of the key collaborative efforts that has taken place since the first meeting is discussions with E470, who will in the future be developing a trail along this reach. E470 trails, you've probably seen maybe in some of the other areas of the metro that the trails tend to follow the E470. And you can see here where the red line was kind of a projected alignment, and then heading kind of south and east. With the good timing of us developing plans for Riverdale, we actually looked at opportunities to partner with E470. There's some big challenges with their route, just including a very wide, long bridge crossing required at the South Platte, and also an opportunity by partnering with Adams County and maybe realigning their trail to, one, build it now, which would be maybe 5, 10, even 20 years ahead of when it would normally be built. But they would be open to building it due to the kind of the intergovernmental partnerships. But it would also, the benefits are that they can take advantage of some existing infrastructure. I'm going to look all the way down here at the South Platte near the South Riverdale Dunes golf course. There's a bridge along the South Platte Greenway that's in place. So if we tie into that bridge, we can put that money into other uses and important features. So this is an important development. The Riverdale or the E470 trail alignment will most likely occur through Riverdale Dunes, or sorry, Riverdale Bluffs, and continue adjacent just to the north of the dunes and tying into that existing bridge. One of the huge benefits of this is that E470 will bring the resources to build a bridge over Riverdale Road, which is not a safe crossing for people who are biking with their families or otherwise. So that's going to connect this area in, to the South Platte Greenway with grade separated trail, which is this huge thing for the neighborhood. I also, before I leave this topic, want to mention the partnership with the town of Thornton, which basically owns most of the land to the west of Riverdale Dunes. So the current trail will probably be built to the western limits of Riverdale Bluffs property. And then Thornton is now engaged in thinking about the next connection that would bring this trail to Quebec and E470, which will provide access to Todd Creek via bridge and those kinds of great opportunities. So that's a huge benefit. We'll talk a little bit later about some of the other regional opportunities that we're trying to take advantage of. Riverdale Ridge High School, which is almost just, it's basically contiguous with the southern parcel of Riverdale Dunes, and Roger Quist Middle School. So we're also looking at extending a trail in that direction that would also be grade separated. And we'll get into that in a little more depth when we get into the larger plans. Okay, let's see here. There we go. So this is the plan, and basically this is a mostly based on the feedback that we got. It's the open space is going to be mostly a trail-oriented recreational resource for the county. We'll have a variety of different kinds of trails, and we'll have visitor facilities and amenities that enhance that trail experience. But it really is all of, all about the trails and that type of recreation. We have tried to really broaden the opportunities within those trail experiences as much as possible. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the trail types that we are proposing right now. Excuse me. So the first trail that I kind of already talked about or the types of trails are this white line here, which would be a concrete trail with probably a crusher fines or soft surface shoulder. That would be the type of trail that would follow that E470 alignment and basically be that E470 link in this region. The connecting link that goes over towards the high school and the middle school might be slightly narrower. We'll see what the regional demands are, but we're looking at another grade separated crossing here. This would probably be an underpass. And then, as I mentioned, at Riverdale Road, where the E470 alignment crosses and continues over by the Riverdale Dunes, that would have a raised bridge sort of represented. This is an example of a type of bridge that's located in Golden. Since especially on the east side, we don't have a lot of topography. We would have a ramp up and over, an overpass, and then on the west side we would tie into the Riverdale, the side of the bluff here. So those are the kind of the concrete trails and associated crossings. The dark trails that we're showing here that are highlighted now in black are soft surface multi-use trails. So these are really for all kinds of users, walkers, mountain bikers, equestrian riders can also use these. They're probably a little wider than some of like the next group of trails that I show you, the single track, and they provide some of the fundamental links. They also connect in, for example, where my hand is pointing right now, that connects in to the soft surface shoulder adjacent to the Riverdale trail, so that there would be continuous trail, kind of soft surface trail all the way up into this very northern part of the park, open space park. And then the single track trail, which is going to appeal to people who want to have a little bit more of a rustic experience. It's going to be narrower, steeper, a little more rolling up and down. It's going to appeal to runners, and it'll appeal to mountain bikers. So you can see these trails are highlighted in red. So there's a pretty wide network of these trails all around loop and in the southern parcel around and near the Baumgartner property. So you can see there's a lot of different types of trail experiences that you can get. So these, like I said, are open to mountain bikes and trail runners. We're hoping that the cross-country runners from the high school and the middle school can take advantage of these trails. It should be a great opportunity. There is one other type of trail that we're proposing. It's in a just limited quantity, where we've got some sort of more exceptional topography. So I had pointed out that high point in the site tour, which kind of, that high point is probably about where my hand is here. And so this little wiggly blue trail that wiggles down. We're proposing as a downhill only mountain bike trail. So limited, but just a little compact thrill that fits right in. We have another short one here that comes off of kind of the high plateau and down into the valley. So those would be kind of directional for safety, and we would encourage that those just be used for bikers. Just that one, those two segments really in the whole trail system. There's one other type of trail that I am excited to mention. You can see down at the bottom here. This is actually the P symbol, and these other symbols we'll get into a little more detail in a minute, but this is the trailhead access off of 136th. And so we are proposing this yellow trail network. Network is about a half-mile total of kids biking trails. So kids can kind of get the hang of mountain biking, under the watch of their parents. It could also be for first-time mountain bikers. It doesn't have to be just for kids, but that's just one more kind of trail-oriented experience that we're excited about. A quick little summary of the amounts of trails that we're looking at here. The concrete, let's see, concrete trails. Let's see here. I've got a little symbol that is blocking my view of the top of this for some reason. So we've got, Catherine, once you jump in, how much of the concrete trail do we have?
So for the E470 trail, the one that is concrete with the soft surface shoulder, that is 1.6 miles.
Okay.
And then
I can read the rest.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The concrete connector trail, which is the trail that connects all the way over to the bridge here, which is part of that E470 loop alignment. That's about 0.7 miles on that side of Riverdale. Soft surface trails, those black, dark gray trails that we've got here, there's 1.3 miles of those, kind of the wider soft surface. Single track, the red trails, we've got about 3.3 miles. Downhill only, those blue trails here and here are about 2/3 of a mile. And then, as I mentioned before, the kids loop is half a mile. So we've got over 8 miles of trail just within the area. So it's pretty good trail opportunities for all kinds of folks. And I did just want to mention that per Adams County tradition on their open space, at their open spaces, basically all the trails, with the exception of the kids biking loop and the downhill only single track, and then some stair climbers that I'll point out soon that go up to the top of the bluffs. All the other trails would be open and available for equestrian use. So we're zooming in a little bit here. This is the southern half of the site. You can see here, this is our little diagram. So we're just looking at the area either side of 136th. As noted, I'll point out a few important features. The paved trail that crosses 136th here would cross at an underpass, so that would be a safe crossing. So kids from this high school could access the open space without having to cross the street, which I think that is a great opportunity. There's the Baumgartner house, just for context. And then, as I mentioned, we've got our trailhead with parking, picnicking, restroom or Sanilet facilities and information. The top of the bluff here is going to be a big destination for this site. We think a lot of people who will come with their families and bring visitors to take advantage of the tremendous views from up there. So you can start to see some of the the roots up. We've got soft surface trails. These little yellow hatched lines are actually some of those stair steppers that I mentioned. So we think that's actually going to be an attraction for users to use the stair steppers as part of their workouts. They're just running, places like Red Rocks and the Incline in Colorado and Manitou Springs are starting to become quite popular. This is quite a bit shorter than that, but it still could give you a good workout, get you up to the top. And then you can see these are overlooks. There's several overlooks up at the top, which we will get into with a little bit more detail as we get to the a blow up of this area. That's a little bit more of a scaled drawing. I did want to point out once more time the bridge over Riverdale Road that kind of ties seamlessly into the regional trails and the trail system for the dunes. So this is the upper half here, as I mentioned. You can see the continuation of the E470 alignment, which will stop at our boundary here. But like I said, we're coordinating furiously with our partners in Thornton to have them start making plans for a continuation of that so that this trail will start to connect to some of those neighborhoods further to the west. You can see the symbol here is interpretive signage. There's a number of things to interpret, especially this is kind of the part of that low valley that we saw, or just the top of, it's actually kind of a shoulder, some interesting vegetation. So we're looking at, and this will get refined more as we get to an actual plan recommendation, but we wanted to show that interpretation, education, pointing out some of the cool, subtle things of the shortgrass prairie are important elements in what we want to provide here. Here's that high point on the west edge here that we talked about. We want to develop that as an overlook with some interpretation as well. Like I said, there's great mountain views there, as there are over here on another high point. And I'll point out just for those of you from the neighborhood, probably wondering where these trails are going. And these are sort of trails that we would propose if there is any future development of Yosemite as part of these. Obviously a lot of these parcels to the west are ripe for development. And if there is development and Yosemite becomes a public access, we would want to tie into that so that there's neighborhood access for the dunes. Okay, here's the blow up of the base area of the trailhead area. So just to kind of reorient you, Riverdale Road here, 136th. So we're going to access off of 136th. We'll have some kind of a circular parking lot. Right now, we're proposing to provide parking spaces for about 60 cars. And then we would have amenities, including, well, you can see your picnic, restrooms. Actually, I'm going to show you some of these here. So these little symbols here are picnic shelters. As our survey indicated, there's a lot of support for more smaller family-sized picnic shelters like this one here, kind of low key, that blend in with the prairie landscape. Right now, we're thinking maybe 3 of those would be a good use, especially when you think about the kids trail that's right around this area would be quite an active and interesting place to have a picnic. We would have restroom facilities, most likely the portalet with some kind of enclosure, and then informational trailheads, maps, and that kind of thing. So next, I talked about the stair steppers. These would be built out of stone or wood. We're still working that out. They actually vary in size. Some of them are steeper. This is kind of a steeper slope than the longer one. People could get up. So you take the soft surface path to a little split here, and then up the stairs to the top of the dunes where you would access these overlooks, which I'm gonna, which I'm gonna show you here. So I think there's 3 overlooks along the top. Just another capture of that view from the top. It really is a tremendous view. And, you know, further to the east, you see more of the river, which is actually maybe even more beautiful. You see the regional park. And so we plan to develop these in a very, to take advantage of those views, obviously, in a sensitive way that provides a little bit of shade and shelter for anybody who might get caught up there in a hailstorm, or just some shade in the heat of the summer, and some interpretation of just the cultural history, the topography, the geomorphology of the South Platte River, not to mention the history of the development. So, and not to mention the Native American history of the folks who were here first. So these are great opportunities, low key. Again, people that come up here that can find their way down. Just kind of right off the edge of this page, there is a continuous easy route. If people don't want to take the stair steppers, they can take a route kind of around the back and get all the way down to the parking lot without having to do the steps. So that is kind of the exploration of the plan, and we'll have time for your comments and questions here in a minute. So you might want to start typing those in if you haven't already. I did want to leave you with kind of the next steps here. So we're, as Kurt mentioned, we're here at the second public meeting. We will take, so we're doing the concept plan. So this is a very preliminary plan. Don't, as nice as it looks, don't think it's final by any means. We're going to be tweaking this and revising it based on comments. And then when we get the final plan, we will post it online, and there will also be a public hearing that's open to the public. Dates to be determined, but sometime spring, summer of 2021. So, so look for that. We will send, Adams County will send out notices to everybody who's attended, and hopefully if you aren't already registered, you provided your email address so that we can reach you, so that when this occurs, we'll be able to let you know, and you'll be able to see the new plan. So, Kurt, I'm going to invite you to maybe turn on your camera and maybe join me in some of these questions. And just one little quirk. Okay, let's see here. I can see some questions now.
Well, I was just looking at a Q&A. Looks like there's Gil, somebody's pulled that off, but they were talking about help with designing the trails. I think we've got a pretty good team. Contour Logic has a really good resume, and so I think that we're in pretty good hands where that goes. There are some limitations on what we'll be able to do because of conservation easements. So to some extent, less is more out there, but trails are perfectly acceptable. But I think that I'm super excited. There's going to be a really good opportunity for vistas and good elevation gain, and being able to get up there and get a good workout and enjoy just what the whole Splendid Valley has to offer.
So,
Park.
Kurt, I'm seeing these some questions and comments. So there's a question about
Children's Bike Loop.
So I'm just saying there's a question about a lot of trails catered towards mountain bike use. Actually, as I mentioned, almost all the trails are for multi-use walking, running, equestrian, and only I think 2/3 of a mile of the downhill mountain bike trails are proposed as limited access. So Kurt, I'm going to toss you another one here. It says, who is cleaning up after the horses?
Well, we would hope that the horse owners, practice what they can. We realize that the horse poop is on any trail. It can carry contaminants like noxious weed seeds, but we'll have a pretty good handle on this property once we get it developed from maintenance and a enforcement standpoint. We've got a new trail ranger, and that's very exciting.
And then here's a question about trails for ADA or limited mobility, especially in the interpretive area.
I think the E470 trail is going to meet all ADA standards, so that's encouraging. I think that's going to provide a critical spine for the rest of the access, and we'll look at a case-by-case basis to see, what the type of access is available and what can be made available.
So let's see. Then somebody asked me about the kids trail and if it is the only one that is single use, all others multi-use. I think I answered that one. There's also that short segment of the downhill mountain bike trails. It's only 2/3 of a mile, and the steps, which are also just for walking.
We've got a comment on trails close to property and fencing so people's animals aren't on personal property. Like as I said, we hiked every square foot of that property, and I think that you'll see the way the trails are laid out takes that into consideration to the best of our ability. We really look to use the existing topography and landforms and try to take all the neighbors' thoughts into considerations when we were near a house. I feel very, very strong about our concept.
There was a question about parking and whether ADA and trailer parking would be proposed. Right now, we're proposing, definitely we'll have ADA parking. And right now, trailer parking is available at the regional park, and we are not thinking that this is going to be a major destination requiring trailers. So right now, we are not proposing trailer parking in the parking lot.
We had yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was going to toss you the next one. I don't know if you wanted to continue on that.
Well, I was looking at one on how people were notified. I think I put that back in the Q&A section too, and the surveys were sent out. The dissemination method was based on proximity to people's homes getting a postcard and or people participating in the first meeting. We also had the website up, and that got most of our survey data from that. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to have a link that people can go to and continue to give their comments, and also be able to look at this video of this meeting and be able to attend it virtually if they couldn't do it tonight. So I feel pretty strongly about the way we disseminate information. Hopefully that answers that question.
There is a question, kind of comment about whether we would, about how the mountain bike trails are being designed, and whether professional trail builder who specializes in mountain bike trails would be involved. And I think that, Kurt, I don't know, I know as your consultant, we would recommend that probably happen, but I might also mention that the consultant planning team has two firms that have a lot of experience with trail planning throughout the Front Range and in Boulder County. So we're starting out at a planning level with a really good background in mountain bike trail design and planning.
I would agree. We've got Contour Logic. They've done outstanding work. And then we've got ERO, which I think brings another level of eyeballs to this project. And I think we looked at it very thoroughly and through a bunch of different lenses. And I'm pretty proud of the team we put together, Paul.
Let's see. I'm looking through. I don't know, Kurt. Are there any more open questions? Let's see.
So no room left for wildlife. I think to the contrary, we're wanting to blend the human experience as well as possible to be able to go up and experience some of this open space that's sorely needed. But we are taking every consideration available into wildlife habitat as well. I think that that's part of the experience.
Kurt, just to sort of provide people with some context in terms of how much space we have left undeveloped. If you take a park in the Front Range area, such as Valmont Park, or I think there's one in Broomfield. If you look at the density of trails in those places that's would be considered kind of more of a real just mountain bike park, it's completely different than what we're proposing at the dunes. There's lots of space between the trails. The trails will probably not be very visible from one trail to the next, just because of the grasses and things that will sort of hide them from a distance. So other than the main central regional trail, which has its own benefits, the rest of the trails are going to blend in really well with the landscape.
I would agree. I think it was well thought out process. Looks like we got another question on parking technology uses a lot space apps for analytics. In fact, I've been in touch with Jefferson County, Marion Bunnell, and so we are familiar with that technology. Depends on some of the site specifics and the potential for need as we see it with parking in the future. But yes, we would look to certain technologies if they seem viable.
Okay, I think we've answered most of the questions. We'll maybe kind of wait and see what is.
Looks like we got one: less human development, more open space due to erosion and aridity of the area. So we agree to that's I think less is more. Another thing to be mentioned in that vein is that there's actually a conservation easement on the property, so we will do our due diligence with the conservation easement holder to make sure all of these improvements meet or exceed the expectations of the conservation easement.
There's some questions on whether we're going to plant trees. There's no water supply at the dunes, unfortunately. So trying to get trees to sustain would really be a tall order and require almost permanent delivery of water. So I think we're going to stick with the native vegetation that's out there. We'll definitely, right now we're only in the master plan phase, but I think the recommendation will be that weed control as much as possible to try to get some really beautiful stands of native grasses reestablished as much as possible, and typical shrubs that are native in the short grass prairie, like the surrounding the dunes. Kurt, do you want to take the question about the timeline for development?
Yeah, and there's also one on park hours at night. Um, we typically close our open space areas at night, so you know it will conform with our park hours with our other parks and open space. I believe our trails are open till 11 p.m. There may be some need once this regional trail gets open for people to be going through and commuting. So I think that answers that question. What's the other question, Paul?
That was the timeline for development.
A lot of it, I think, a lot of it depends on some of the partnerships, some of the budgeting. We're looking at a fairly sizable project here. We're going to look to phase in some of it as soon as practical. Um, Luckily, we've got some good news with our open space tax being extended. We're going to go after some open space grants for this property and, try to come up with a good phasing alternative to get this open and enjoyed by the public. I think it's sorely needed.
There's a question about lighting. Um,
I think we'll look for technology in our lighting. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul. Minimal lighting. We'll look at dark sky type lighting if lighting is available in those types of places. But we'll also look for safety um, of the user. But I think that we will take lighting into definite consideration. And I appreciate
Yeah.
that comment.
And I do think that it probably would be mostly at the base, at the trailhead facilities. I don't anticipate we're going to put any lighting on the trails. So yeah, it's going to be low level. So let's see.
Other comments on ADA? Some they appreciate our work towards that end. I think that's right now. Paul said that we are in the conceptual stage. So as we move into actually construction documents and those things, we will take those into definite consideration. Make sure that we meet or exceed ADA requirements and in the places that it makes sense to do so.
Let's see. Looking for, I think you've already answered the question about the hours.
There's another question on street planning to have bike lanes to encourage accessing the park by bike. I think that's huge. We're in the midst of our master plan and our comprehensive plan. We're doing a parks, open space, and trails plan collaboratively and in parallel with that process. And that's a good comment to make, but rest assured we will be looking at making as many of those connections as possible through those processes.
But I'll just reiterate that the E470 connections and the connections to Thornton will provide some alternatives to the on-street routes that would otherwise be required.
And based on some of the comments, we do have people from Thornton attending. We've invited people from Commerce City, some of the other places in the surrounding areas, Brighton, like Brighton, those types of groups. So if you're out there, thanks for your attendance. We will also provide a link to our county website to make any additional comments. And I think we've answered most of the questions. If there's anything else, consider hiring. You have trails maintenance person or crew. Okay. We do always need seasonal workers. We're actually looking for a crew leader right now. So we usually advertise those jobs through the county website and sometimes through Colorado Parks and Recreation Association. So if that's something you're passionate about, let us know. We have a pretty sound crew right now. We do have a crew that can actually do a lot of the construction of and heavy equipment operations. But I do think we're going to leave this one to fit it out for professionals. But yeah, if you're interested in that kind of work, that's what we do.
So I've got one more slide here, Kurt, that this meeting has been recorded. So you can access that recording at this link. And Catherine or Amber, if you're listening, maybe you could send the link to everybody onto the chat so that people can just download it. So this is the website link that will bring you to the page for the Bluffs. And then we also have an input page so that you can give us your written feedback. So we're not doing a formal opinion survey this time, but we do have a place. If you access the page here, adcogov.org/Riverdale Bluffs, there will be a clickable link to take you to the comment page where you can give us your thoughts on what you think so far, what you like, what you don't like, what you think is missing. And we're looking forward to hearing from you. And we'll record all the comments that have been provided for this meeting and put those in with the new comments and use that to refine the plan towards the final.
Yes, thanks, Paul. I also wanted to just really thank everybody. I wanted to thank the E470 staff, especially for sitting through this call and for partnering with us. Wanted to just really thank all of the panelists. Wanted to thank everybody that participated tonight, that weren't panelists, all of the neighbors, all of the interested parties, all the stakeholders. This is a very important process, and this is why we're out here doing it. It's because of you. And we can have the most beautiful open space in the world, but if there's nobody to enjoy it and to use it in the proper way, it doesn't do much good. And so this is just another shining example of our open space sales tax and some of the things that we've been able to do, and we're going to be able to preserve in perpetuity for the public. So please participate. Thank you, everybody. If there's no other questions, I think we'll maybe wait for a few more moments and then we'll wrap the meeting up.
Well,
Is there anybody I forgot? Are there any elected officials? I'd like to thank them as well. And I believe Alicia, the deputy county manager, is participating tonight. I wanted to thank her for that as well. Because without support from the leadership in the county, it makes projects like this more challenging, and they've been very supportive. So thank you for your attendance as well.
Kurt, I wanted to jump in and also acknowledge we had a couple of our Park and Open Space board members here tonight and wanted to thank them for their participation, Christy Dowling in particular.
Yes, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention all of those people that are, really public servants in many different ways by serving those boards and commissions. Thank you for your service in that way as well. All right, with that, I think we'll wrap up. If there are any comments, we've got somebody raising their hand. Or is that you, Paul?
No, that was
you.
That was
okay.
Just mine.
I thought somebody was raising their hand, but I think with that, please let us know your thoughts. I'm really proud of the team, proud of our plan, proud of the concept, and proud of the direction. I think this is a very historic point in Adams County, and this is just an awesome, addition to our trail network, and just a grand entry to Splendid Valley. So thank you for your participation.